Hey guys, in this video, I want to talk to you about some of the true science and physiology behind cold thermogenesis. So cold thermogenesis is a popular health activity amongst people in the paleo community, various health enthusiasts, and has been popularized by people like Jack Kruse and of course Wim Hof. So now if we break down the terminology, cold thermogenesis, the root word thermo refers to heat and genesis refers to generation. So cold thermogenesis literally means cold heat generation. So right in the terminology, it's a bit confusing and almost contradictory. So now there are a wide variety of proclaimed health benefits behind the promotion of cold thermogenesis. However, most of them trace back to its so-called fat burning or weight loss effects. So supposedly, cold thermogenesis increases the production of something called brown adipose tissue, which temporarily boosts the metabolic rate or metabolism, increases the body temperature, and therefore results in weight loss or fat loss. Now for the 35% of Americans who are struggling with weight gain or weight problems, this is going to be an appetizing benefit and reason to expose yourself to extremely cold temperatures. However, before you jump into a freezing cold body of water, I just want to share with you some of the actual physiology and science behind how cold thermogenesis is actually achieving its so-called pro-metabolic or metabolism boosting effects in the body and its so-called weight loss effects. Now before I dive into the physiology here, I just want to share with you one study on the proclaimed weight loss benefits of cold thermogenesis. Now in short, the study basically came to find that if any weight is being lost at all due to chronic exposure to cold or the long-term use of cold thermogenesis, it's not fat loss but muscle loss, so muscle atrophy or muscle wasting. And once we start to learn the physiology and the stress of cold thermogenesis, this becomes very clear to us. However, looking at the study, it was basically found that the carbohydrate and lipid metabolism are profoundly altered by cold stress. Because cold acclimation requires that the organism adjusts its metabolic rate, the muscle amino acids may be an important energy source for heat production. We hypothesize that muscle proteolysis is increased and protein synthesis is decreased under such stress conditions. The study goes on to conclude that the activation of atrophy induced by acute cold stress seems to be mediated at least in part through the inactivation of the kinase, fork head signaling, and activation of AMP activated protein kinase. So basically what this study is saying is that cold, first and foremost, is a stress on the body. And as a stress, it triggers a stress response which activates the stress metabolism, aka gluconeogenesis, which basically increases cortisol, which stimulates the wasting of the muscle or the atrophying of the muscle tissue, turning those amino acids into glucose for energy. However, the study is more or less saying that cold thermogenesis will initiate the fat burning process. However, something that most people don't understand is that the process of burning fat, aka lipolysis, is actually an inefficient fuel source or source of energy or energy producing system, and it's also an incredible stress on the body that is associated with elevated levels of estrogen and cortisol and the increased liberation of free fatty acids, which is very similar biology to that of a diabetic person who is experiencing muscle wasting, who can't metabolize or oxidize sugar or glucose, and is therefore relying on gluconeogenesis or some other secondary form of energy production that isn't relying on the oxidation of glucose. And not only is this fat burning process not associated with health, but is completely irrelevant when you have a high functioning metabolism or fast metabolism or high metabolic rate and a healthy liver. Because when your metabolism is working efficiently, you will metabolize and oxidize your nutrients without storing them as fat. And when your liver is healthy, it will naturally excrete fat from your body without having to necessarily burn fat, which is reliant of various stress chemicals and the stress metabolism. So perhaps one of the major reasons that cold thermogenesis is being promoted and it's something that people are utilizing, although it has disastrous health effects, is because it does actually achieve a lot of this proclaimed health effects. For example, by putting your body in a state of stress or secreting a wide variety of fat-burning stress chemicals like norepinephrine, you're going to lose weight or burn fat. However, this isn't any healthier than as if you were to starve yourself and exercise intensely to burn fat. However, perhaps maybe it's just a less obvious form of self-induced stress or suffering, or perhaps not. Now, something else that's important to understand is that the so-called pro-metabolic effects of cold thermogenesis. So if you've ever jumped in ice cold water, you'll notice that slightly after, you will have a subtle rise in body temperature, and you almost feel as if have boosted your metabolism. Well, this isn't the byproduct of healthy metabolism or a high-functioning, strong thyroid gland, as much as it is the temporary high or boost in the metabolism, the pulse rate, and the body temperature that you'll get from stress chemicals like adrenaline and serotonin. So these are stress chemicals. But under acute stress or life or death situations, of course, it's going to give you a subtle boost or a temporary boost in energy, which will be followed by or associated with a boost in the metabolic rate, your pulse rate, so your heart will start beating fast, as well as an increased rise in your body temperature. However, it requires a great deal of discernment and wisdom and understanding of your body, whether or not you have just a fast pulse rate and body temperature as the byproduct of a healthy metabolism and a strong functioning thyroid, or if it's from the acute short-term stress response and stress chemicals, serotonin, adrenaline, norepinephrine, etc. So yes, the stress of cold will boost your metabolism temporarily. However, relying on cold thermogenesis or any other form of stress to give you energy and boost your temperature and make you feel warmer is akin to relying on the degenerative effects of parathyroid, which can stimulate a regenerative process by shocking your bones, robbing them of calcium to produce new blood vessels, capillaries, tissues, etc. So relying on the temporary energy boost and temperature boost of stress is obviously not going to be beneficial for your long-term health. So now that you have a greater understanding of how cold thermogenesis is actually working and what effects it's actually truly having on your body, the real question is, what problems are you trying to solve with cold thermogenesis anyway? From my understanding, there's probably 3 major problems people are trying to solve by exposing themselves to extreme cold. They're either trying to boost their energy, they're trying to boost their body temperature because they want to feel warm and not intolerant to cold, or they're trying to lose weight. Now, what's interesting is all 3 of these problems are classic symptoms of hypothyroidism. So by exposing yourself to cold thermogenesis, you're not correcting the underlying problem, which is probably hypothyroidism in a low metabolic rate. You're actually probably just attributing to it in the long run. So if you're dealing with weight gain, low energy, or an intolerance to cold, your real goal, what you're going to want to ideally do, is boost your thyroid gland. So with that being said, I would highly recommend watching the videos that I've made on thyroid health and get some tips there as how to boost thyroid function and thyroid health. A quick tip though is going to be reduce stress. Actually, the stimulation of the HPA axis or the adrenals and the increased production of cortisol and adrenaline are going to directly oppose thyroid function. So one of the best things you can do actually for your thyroid is decrease your stress response. So exposing yourself to cold is not going to be beneficial for long-term thyroid health or thyroid function. So again, to get some tips on how to boost thyroid function, to increase your body temperature and circulation, to help you naturally and healthfully lose weight, and how to increase your energy, definitely, again, watch the videos on thyroid function so that way you can get some healthy, helpful tips for correcting all those problems without exposing yourself to the stress of extreme cold.